Imagine changing an entire industry, making it worth billions, giving power to thousands of workers, and then losing everything because of it. Your career, your friends, your family, your money, your health. Today, you're going to meet a man who did exactly that. A modest Belgian footballer who accidentally became one of the most famous names in sports history. But not for the reasons you might think. This is the story of Jean-Marc Bosman, the man who revolutionized football and paid the ultimate price for it. Jean-Marc Bosman is 61 years old today, bald, a square jaw that softened with age and weight, small, dark eyes that still carry something in them, something restless. He lives in Awans, a tiny municipality in Belgium with fewer than 9,000 people. His house is simple, a pool in the garden, a few old photos from his playing days on the walls, some family pictures. The wood-fired oven is probably the most interesting feature. Turning his head is difficult now after neck surgery. Another operation 15 years ago put a titanium plate in his hip. Bending hurts. Playing football? Out of the question. Even his friends have dwindled. The solution for exercise these days is walking. His 2 sons visit sometimes. There's an older daughter from another relationship. Bosman has health problems, but he survives. He wasn't famous before. He didn't become a star. He didn't have an agent then. Doesn't have one now. He's reluctant to talk to journalists. The only thing he has left to sell is his own story. And what a story it is. It started with some promise in youth football. He was captain of Belgium's under-21 national team. But his professional career never took off. No big Belgian clubs, no European giants, just a modest player trying to make his way. Then came a failed transfer attempt to the French second division, a legal battle that lasted years. Problems that piled up during and after the case, and a verdict that changed football forever. Jean-Marc says he doesn't regret what he did, but those who know him sense mixed feelings. And honestly, that wouldn't be absurd, not after everything Bosman went through. But to understand what happened to him, we need to go back to the summer of 1990, when a 26-year-old midfielder saw an opportunity to change his life, and accidentally changed the entire sport. Jean-Marc Bosman came from Belgium's working class. He was a midfielder formed in the youth academy of Standard de Liège. Not exceptionally talented, no major titles as a professional. But in his own words, he had a lot of dedication. By 1990, he was playing for RFC Liège, and his contract was about to expire. Then came the offer. Dunkirk, a French club, second division. But it was France. It was a new opportunity, a chance to revive his career. Bosman was excited. This could be his breakthrough. But then reality hit. In those days, a player couldn't just leave when their contract ended. Football operated under a system called the transfer fee, or the pass. It was essentially a property title over the player. RFC Liège demanded a transfer fee for Bosman, way more than Dunkirk was willing to pay. And it wasn't just about money. The Belgian club also cut Bosman's salary by 75%. 75%. And they refused to release him at the end of his contract. Dunkirk walked away from the deal. The Belgian Football Federation suspended Bosman for not signing with RFC Liège. Let that sink in. He wanted to work. Someone wanted to hire him. But he was suspended for refusing to accept a 75% pay cut. So Bosman did something that seemed crazy at the time. He went to court. He had no legal background, no academic training for this kind of battle. Most people didn't believe he could win. He didn't want to be in the spotlight. He just wanted to play football. He felt this was his only option. He had no idea how long it would take, or what it would cost him. The legal battle lasted 5 years. It started at the Court of First Instance in Liège. Then it climbed through the system, all the way to the Court of Justice of the European Union in Luxembourg. The fight began against RFC Liège and the Belgian Football Federation. But it grew. UEFA got involved, the organization responsible for transfer rules across Europe. There were tense hearings. clubs pressured other teams to isolate Bosman. Bosman's defense argued something revolutionary. The transfer rules and nationality clauses shouldn't apply to him based on European Union labor law, the right to free movement of workers. And on December 15, 1995, the European Court agreed. The ruling was simple but seismic. It authorized the free movement of players within Europe once their contracts expired, and it eliminated nationality quotas that limited foreign players per team. Bosman's lawyers, Luc Misson and Jean-Louis Dupont, along with FIFPro, the Global Players Union, had won. Jean-Marc Bosman was awarded compensation. He had changed football forever, but at what cost? Winning in court meant losing on the field. Bosman never played professional football again. Clubs considered him toxic, a troublemaker, someone who challenged the system. Teams didn't want to touch him, and it wasn't just clubs. Former teammates turned their backs on him. Friends in football disappeared. The guy who was once loved in the locker room became an outcast. Think about that. He fought for players' rights, and players abandoned him. The problem spread beyond football. His personal life collapsed. He went through a divorce, lost huge amounts of money, sold 2 houses and a car. For a while, he lived in a makeshift room in his parents' garage. A professional athlete reduced to living in his parents' garage. He struggled with alcoholism, suffered epileptic seizures, was caught drunk driving twice, battled depression. In 2008, he was even convicted of domestic violence, though the Court of Appeal in Liège overturned the sentence in 2013. Bosman survived thanks to help from people he knew. He tried working at a sports goods store. It didn't work out. He attempted to create publicity around himself, launched T-shirts with his name. He didn't know how to invest, didn't know how to capitalize on what he'd done. He met Diego Maradona, met Eric Cantona, brief moments of fleeting fame, but nothing stuck. Nothing lasted. Recently, he published a biography in French. In it, he sees himself as one of the most famous footballers in the world, alongside Pelé, Maradona, and Platini. Not for the same reasons, of course, but famous nonetheless. Throughout the book, there's a recurring theme: the desire to be compensated for his sacrifice, for what he did for the entire class of professional footballers, and the contradictions, the mixed feelings, the sense that maybe, just maybe, things could have been different. But could they have been? To answer that, we need to look at what happened to football after December 15, 1995. Because the Bosman ruling didn't just change one man's life. It changed the entire industry. The football world didn't change overnight. UEFA and FIFA were slow to accept the court's decision. So were national leagues across Europe. This was still an era when Europe was developing its single market, borderless travel, the euro currency. Football wasn't prepared for the day after the Bosman ruling. In Brazil, the law that changed regulations on player transfers only came into effect in March 1998. And even then, clubs had 3 years to adapt. But the Bosman case hit the accelerator on globalized football, on the billion-dollar industry it would become. FIFA structured the transfer market with windows, specific periods when transfers could happen. Players suddenly had much more bargaining power with clubs. Salaries exploded. Signing bonuses became massive. Release clauses reached astronomical figures. Player agents entered the circuit for real. The gap between Europe's richest clubs and the rest of the world became an abyss. These clubs concentrated talent from every corner of the planet. And money, enormous amounts of money. Real Madrid, the world's richest club, generates around 7.7 billion Brazilian reais in revenue. That's over $1 billion US. Here's the irony. Real Madrid didn't have to pay a fortune to Paris Saint-Germain for Kylian Mbappé. Why? Because of the Bosman ruling. Mbappé's contract with PSG was expiring. He could leave for free. According to FIFA data, the men's football market recorded more than 12,000 international transfers in mid-2025, with spending exceeding $9.7 billion. That's equivalent to 52.8 billion Brazilian reais. 12,000 transfers. nearly $10 billion in 6 months. This is the world Jean-Marc Bosman created. A world where players have rights, where they can move freely, where they can negotiate for themselves, where a player from Argentina can play in Spain, a player from Brazil in England, a player from France in Italy. It's a world where football became truly global, truly massive, truly billion-dollar. But it's also a world where wealth concentrated at the top, where the biggest clubs got bigger, where smaller clubs and smaller leagues struggled to compete, where the beautiful game became, in many ways, a business first and a sport second. And the man who made it all possible? He's living in a small Belgian town, in a simple house, with health problems, selling his story to anyone who'll listen. In his biography, Jean-Marc Bosman says he's at peace, after years of frustration fighting what he considers an injustice done to him. Those who know him highlight his political vision, his desire to fight for people. But they also mention something else: his repetitive speech, his belief that he should be earning 0.1% of all football transfer values. Let's do the math. 0.1% of $9.7 billion. That's $9.7 million every 6 months, nearly $20 million a year. Is he right? Should he be compensated? It's complicated. He won compensation at the time. He fought a legal battle and won. But did he create value for football? Absolutely. Did players benefit? Without question. Did clubs benefit? Definitely. Did the industry explode in size and wealth? Yes. Did Jean-Marc Bosman get his fair share? That's the question we're left with. Some say he gambled and lost on the business side, that he should have positioned himself better. Others say the football world used him and discarded him, that he deserved better from the sport he transformed. Maybe both are true. What's undeniable is this: Jean-Marc Bosman changed football forever. He gave players freedom. He opened borders. He helped create a global industry worth billions. And he lost almost everything doing it. So the next time you watch a player move from one club to another, the next time you see a superstar leave on a free transfer, the next time you witness a footballer negotiate a massive contract, remember Jean-Marc Bosman, the modest Belgian midfielder who wasn't good enough to play for the biggest clubs, but was brave enough to challenge the entire system. The man who made football billionaire and got almost nothing for it. This is his story, a story of courage, sacrifice, and the complicated legacy of being a revolutionary. Thank you for watching.